This episode of the Nerd Corp.
このザナードコーポレーションポッドキャストはネタバレと汚い言葉があります。再利用を勧めしますよ。ザナードコーポレーションへようこそ。
Everybody, it's Thursday, and you know what that means.
We don't have Derek.
Yeah.
We don't have Derek to make some stupid quip.
We had a baby!
That was really good. That's a good Derek.
No, we're just teasing. We love you, Derek.
Nudie Magazine Day?
Nudie Magazine.
Derek isn't with us today. It is as of the day of this recording.
Derek
his
is no
birthday.
longer with us.
Right.
He fucking died.
Derek's exodus. He died of dysentery.
Died on the Oregon Trail.
There's a funny joke I heard about that where it's basically like, so you're on the Oregon Trail, you meet up with another party who joins up with yours, you start talking to a guy who tells you that his name is Terry. You say, that's a fucking stupid name, and then Terry kills you. You have died of dysentery.
Wordplay. No, as of the day of this recording, it's Derek's birthday.
Happy birthday, Derek!
Woo! Happy birthday, we love you. So he's not with us today, he's out enjoying his day. But it is podcast day. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Welcome to episode 125. The Weeb Corporation is going berserk. Yeah. No guts, no glory. We're going to be talking about the Berserk movies that are on Netflix and Funimation. That's right. And those three movies, they chronicle how many of the books?
So
it's one arc.
It covers the Golden Age arc, and the Golden Age arc starts at the end of Volume 3 and goes all the way to Volume 13 or 14. One of the two. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot. That's not a lot of volumes of manga, but it is a really grand story in terms of like everything that happens in it. And it is Berserk's most famous arc, for sure.
Gotcha. Yeah, and when I saw the first movie or whatever, you loaned me all of those issues, Cole. Like you, so I knew the first movie, like just from reading the manga.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty cool. So we're going to get into that. But first, let's get on with the nerd news. On the wrestling front, New Japan Pro Wrestling is in talks with the WWE for a partnership.
Oh.
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
So we get to see some Japanese wrestlers
We'll get to see some...
across the pond.
Yeah, dude. I was watching it on Wrestle Talk today, actually. And it was... The talks have been going on for several months.
Okay.
And so now... And it's crazy because New Japan right now has a deal with AEW.
Oh.
So I think it's just WWE's way of being like, hey, fuck you, we're the big dogs. And we're going to show you how by fucking merging with New Japan.
Yikes.
But it's crazy. Also, they'll be returning to Butts and Seats.
Yeah.
In July, right?
In July, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Full capacity and everything?
Yeah, yep, full
what
capacity.
about like masks and stuff? Are they still going to require masks?
Not completely sure about that.
Prices are starting to lift a lot.
Yep, and they're talking about having John Cena come on for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, we should get into John Cena's shit too.
Yeah, dude. And what?
You didn't hear about the shit that happened with John Cena?
He called Taiwan a country.
And China got upset.
Which, isn't it though? Isn't it? Or
I'm too ignorant to know this. You can't put me on the spot like that. I'm sorry. But
I googled Taiwan and it said it's a country in the province of...
China.
Yeah.
China...
I'm just like...
I'm not going to say anything.
So...
But China is pretty fucked up. Let's hold on for a second. Are you done with your...
I'm not going to say anything, but...
Yeah, pretty much. So, they're talking about how John Cena is going to come back. They're going to bring back a few like big name people. They're going to do some kind of superstar shakeup where they're going to be switching the homes of the wrestlers and shit. And so it's going to be crazy. Taiwan is a republic of China.
Okay.
So it's kind of like what DC is, what like Puerto Rico is to us.
Oh, okay.
Speaking of John Cena.
Yeah, John Cena kind of really sold out. So it reminds me a lot of like all that drama that happened with the NBA and China. That was fucking last year, wasn't it?
It was the NBA. I thought it was Blizzard.
Well, that was a thing too. The thing with Blizzard is they had a commentator or a player, I can't remember. It was a player
that showed a sign that said Free Hong Kong.
Yeah, Free Hong Kong, and Tencent is a Chinese company that owns a pretty good chunk or something like that, a considerable amount of Activision Blizzard. And so when that happened, they fired not only that player, but the commentators.
So they didn't fire, they suspended their winnings. They didn't let them have any winnings from that
That's
match.
right. Yep, you're right. So that was the whole Activision thing. The thing with the NBA was there were some players that were trying to say something about Free Hong Kong, and China was like, no, none of that, not in our dictatorship, no. You know, like it was really... China is making some really fucking crazy moves right now. Yeah. And it seems like what happened with John Cena is John Cena said something about Taiwan being its own country, which seems so silly and seems like it's like...
So what he said was that the first country that Fast 9 was going to was Taiwan in theaters.
That's it?
That's all he said.
That's all he said. And China got was really upset.
Whoa, you can't say that. And so then he apologized to China, and now everyone's saying that he is condemning Hong Kong as Taiwan as a country.
That's stupid.
Dude, even people that aren't in China that are here, like on the internet, are like mad at him, and I'm like, why?
What for?
Like,
and then people in Taiwan are like, we aren't a country?
Yeah.
Who says? Where is he? I can't see him.
It's like if you were to say, oh yeah, I'm going to move to another state. Oh yeah, where? Puerto Rico. And then everyone's like, hey, whoa. Like, you can't do that. And then everyone just gets mad at that person.
Yeah, the reason why people are pissed is because no one wants to give China an inch. Like, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And so when we see, and obviously John Cena apologized because it's China,
right?
And China has tons and tons of funding, and they would pull their funding at any fucking moment,
right?
At any little thing,
and they could say like, "Oh, you can't use our footage anymore." The footage of...
Well, not only that, these films live and fucking die, but by the amount of money that they make in the box office.
Yeah.
And if there's and if China is out of seeing your movie, you're losing out in a lot of fucking money,
especially with such a popular and well-loved franchise as the Fast series.
Well loved
by one person,
so well received by millions.
So have they said anything about them ending it? Like, nope. is this so? There's no plans to end this at all.
No, dude.
Jesus
fucking
Christ.
They're gonna find some other muscle-bound bald kid that looks... Oh my god, could you imagine if they reboot the series? All 9 of them.
You know, this is why this is the reason we're getting Arc 2 is because they won't stop.
Don't you put that
you
evil...
keep giving them money.
I'll give them all the... I came so close. Like, I mean, my
Don't
fingers...
Don't you say you almost bought that game.
I did, dude. Like, my
God.
fingers couldn't get closer as I'm making this gesture.
Vin Diesel is such a mediocre fucking actor. The last good movie he was in was that fucking Riddick movie. And that was mediocre at best.
He's not good. He's not a great actor. No, I'm going to tell you.
Yes, I remember that.
Dude, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that these are cinematic masterpieces or that these belong in a museum.
I really think you're trying.
Yeah.
No. I enjoy the fuck out of these movies, and I love every single one of them, even Tokyo Drift. I fucking...
What do you mean, even Tokyo Drift? That's the best fucking
Tokyo
one. What
Drift
do you
was
mean?
the
Tell me
weakest
what
one.
you know. If you live in Tokyo, fuck you, bro. That's the best fucking. That's the best fucking one. There's a Z in that one, bro.
That one's the least liked out of all of them. Anyway, I'm not gonna.
Those are Fast and the Furious fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can see, you can already tell what I fucking think about their opinion.
Eat a bag of dick. You know, I'm not going to tell you these movies are fucking masterpieces because they're not, but I just love the fuck out of them. And yeah, I came a fucking cunt hair close to fucking buying this game, bro.
What a great expression.
You know, I came...
The movies I can get, but...
I came a sea hair short of fucking buying that sea sucker.
You're short and so fucking embarrassing, bud.
Hey. Yeah, I did. I came close to buying that game, but no, dude, they're not talking about finishing it at all. They're not talking about ending it whatsoever. I mean,
too much money.
Well, they're still introducing new characters. I mean,
Bro.
in the new one with John Cena is Dominic Toretto's younger brother. So, like, there could be...
Which one is it where I saw The Rock, or I don't know if it was The Rock or who it was, but he's on the back of a tow truck with a chain, and he grabs this fucking other chain that's connected to a helicopter, and he's...
Yeah, that was Hobbs and Shaw.
You know, the only other person I've
I
seen
want to beat you to death.
do something like that
Why?
is Spider-Man. Not The Rock.
Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
And Tom Holland. And Andrew Garfield. Fuck the Sam Raimi movies,
just a
bro.
kid.
God. Yeah.
Other news, we're getting a new Evil Dead movie.
Yeah.
That's exclusively on HBO.
Yeah. Ooh. And in Spider-Man news, Sony has announced that there will be the existence of the Spider-Verse. So we might get... Like, that could open up Spider-Man 2099, Spider-Man Noir.
Do you guys think that Emma Stone's lying about being in No Way Home? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a little cameo.
I doubt it.
Really?
dead.
You don't think you're going to see Gwen Stacy?
She
in there?
dead.
She did.
Oh, that's right. She dies in the second movie, huh?
Mhm.
Yep.
She dead.
She did.
But in the Spider-Verse, there's Spider-Gwen.
That's true.
Hey, more Spider-Man. That's what I say.
I'm all about it, bro.
Just build something up to where I can see Gwenpool in a movie.
Oh God,
Just
please
let that happen,
dude. I want Spider-Man Noir and Spider-Man 2099.
Oh, Noir would be so good.
Noir would be amazing.
Is No Way Home?
Yeah,
Is that
No
what
Way
it's called?
Home.
Is that out this year or next year?
That is out this year, I believe. Don't quote me, but I believe in November.
Because that would be a perfect time to release a new Spider-Man game.
Speaking of quoting and correcting, our resident Patreon. Since we let
our resident actually,
yeah, you know.
So before we get into that, I would like to correct something that we said last time.
Yeah.
So Cole, it was something that you said.
Here we go.
That Kentaro Miura was in bad health and that he was like struggling with his health and this and that.
Mm-hmm.
His assistant came out and said that he lived a very full and healthy life. He was very health conscious, and this was just like a random occurrence. It wasn't anything to do with like any pre-existing conditions.
It makes me wonder if he was saying that to protect honor. Like, almost sort of like damage control.
Yeah, I can imagine that being
because
the case.
this motherfucker worked really, really hard.
Yeah, and I mean, people are always about protecting their image, like the Japanese,
especially the Japanese.
Yeah, so I mean,
and so while I will take what he said at face value, like I will understand that, but I will also have my own preconceived notions because you don't just have an artery burst like that for no reason at all.
Right.
Especially, like, if he was the image of health that this guy is saying that he was, like, he was saying that he was eating fine, he had a daily routine of workout, like, nothing really stuck out as being bad.
Right.
But you don't have a really important blood vessel burst in your heart that kills you at 54.
Right.
Like, there had to have been something there.
Right.
So, I'll take what he says, but I'll have my own opinions. But yes, he did come out, but that was also after that recording that we had,
right,
where his assistant came out and said that.
So here at the Nerd Corporation, we let our patrons do, whatever they want and however they want to do it. We let them call us mean names. We let them berate us and just pretty much treat us like garbage.
Or simps.
We
But
love our patrons.
so our resident fact checker, Dallin, he was listening to our Captain America episode, and we were talking about how at the height of the Civil War, this is when we had Captain America come out, and it was pretty much like propaganda and stuff. So Dallin wanted to...
World War II.
Yeah, World War II. Sorry,
Yeah.
Did I say Civil War?
You said Civil War.
Yeah, sorry.
That would have been a long time ago,
Yeah.
before comic books
Yeah.
existed.
So
That we know of, I guess.
he actually called me, and we had this like 20-minute conversation about how the height of World War II wasn't really until closer to the end of the decade, closer to the end of the 40s. Apparently, nobody gave a fuck about the war until about 1946-47.
I thought... So the war started in 1944, right?
42.
42.
42?
40. No, it started in 39 and ended in 48, 49.
So why is 1944 always brought up?
I don't know.
Is that when we stormed the beaches?
I don't know. I don't want to anger Dallin and say something.
Anger the god.
And, but,
The fact god.
yeah, and so, Captain America having not been
the
released.
beach in 96.
And then we partied like it was 1999.
Oh,
I want to get corrected.
Yeah. And so, yeah, with Captain America coming out in March of 41 and then being re-released in December of 41, I think. The whole thing about Captain America being this big of a propaganda machine really doesn't fit, because the war wasn't even on anyone's radar until later on in the decade.
Okay.
So.
I still feel like it's a little propaganda-ish.
Well, I mean, and I was telling him, I was like, so then why is Captain America punching Hitler in the face in his very first episode, in his very first cover? And Dallin was like, no idea. Like, that person must have had foresight like a motherfucker.
I think that...
Dallin should shut the fuck up.
This is just my humble opinion, but I think that the American government has known a lot more about, like, secret intelligence for a lot longer than we ever have. And I think that they knew exactly what they were doing. And I think that whoever might have had the idea behind the comics knew what was up.
I still feel like, even if it's not like in-your-face propaganda, I still feel like it is propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of how rah America it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, he's all about sticking up for the small. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I've still, you know, opinions are like assholes, you know. So, but I still feel like that's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
Who technically should be Captain Puerto Rico, if we're...
Because of his
We're
suit.
going
Yeah.
I was going to mention that we got... I can't remember the dates exactly, but we got releases for Diamond and Pearl and Pokemon Legends.
Yep.
Ooh.
Diamond and Pearl is in November, and Legends is next January.
Dude, final quarter of this year is going to be fucking wild.
I hope so, man. I'm really excited for those remakes. I really like.
They look really good.
I like the
cover
artistic choice that they made. Like how they're still kind of sprites. Like they're just 3D sprites. I really like that.
Yeah, it's almost what's the Chibi? I think is the one I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm. Did you see the screenshots of that Dragon Quest III remake? It's Dragon Quest, but it looks like Octopath Traveler.
Okay.
Yeah, sign me the fuck up, like right now.
I have.
God damn.
I have I think I have the first Dragon Quest game on Switch that just has like repolished graphics and everything, and it looks fucking great. So they must be doing something like that.
So it has like that out of focus thing. You know what I'm talking about? How they did that a lot with Octopath Traveler.
Yeah.
It looks a lot like that.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks fucking phenomenal. That, and we got
I tried so hard to play that game. I borrowed it from before he was my roommate, Lane. I borrowed it from him, and I was trying to play it, and I was just like, there's so much of this game. Like,
That's the thing too, is that like they're JRPGs, but they're JRPGs for the function, and that's really it.
Yeah.
They're very, very grindy. They have like baseline fucking quality of storytelling. Like Dragon Quest XI is really good, but it's very, very grindy. Like you're constantly in battles. But we also got Dragon Quest 12.
Yeah.
Nice little fucking JPEG of that game, which, you know, they're saying, apparently they're all saying that this is like a darker, more mature Dragon Quest. I'll fucking believe it when I see it. But this is also the same game that has, I think it's called Puff Puff.
Puff Puff!
Yeah, it's basically Dragon Quest version of prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
You want Puff Puff?
Yeah, Puff, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Puff Puff, yeah. Fucking hilarious.
Death by
There's
snooze.
also just a screenshot, because I can't share anything to Facebook for another fucking week.
Yes, you're banned.
Resident Evil and Dead by Daylight.
Yeah, so it looks like we got Leon Kennedy and
Jill Valentine.
Jill Valentine.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I thought we had Claire, but we don't.
And then we've got
Nemesis.
Is it Nemesis?
Yeah,
that's
it's
the enemy?
Nemesis. Yeah, Nemesis is the killer.
It would have
Yeah.
been cooler to have Mr. X.
I agree.
You'll catch me playing that for just the length of that event.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably lose interest again.
I'm with it, man. I have that game. That game's just chilling. I'm just waiting
I have
to
it
play
too.
some.
They have the PS5 treatment for it too, so I've got it. I just have to re-download it.
It would have been fucking cool to have Nemesis and then like have one of the sisters from Resident Evil 8.
Mhm.
That would have been pretty cool.
Or even just Lady Demetresque herself, dude.
Domitresque.
As if the internet needs to get any more horny.
No, bad.
Bunk.
Go to horny jail.
You
Go
seen
to
that
horny
picture where it's the Shiba Inu in like the rice hat with the sword? And he's
Yeah,
like,
that's
I am the
what it
master
is.
of bonks.
Yeah.
I do not wish to be horny anymore. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
We were talking about it right before we started recording. We got a Dead by Daylight gameplay trailer, and fucking boy howdy.
You're thinking.
I mean, Dying Light.
Light
2.
I was like, wait.
So is the game called Dying Light 2 Stay Human?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dying
Kinda
Light 2.
lame.
Yeah.
Kind of lame. I don't like Stay Human. Just Dying Light 2 is fine.
I'd imagine it has something to do with the fact that you're constantly infected and you have to keep yourself, quote, human. But
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
That game has been struggling.
Yeah.
Like a
Readjust
lot.
your tourniquet.
Well, even like in the beginning of the trailer, they were like, we've been through our own hurdles and just like everybody else in the world and
Yeah.
shit. And so, but that gameplay trailer looks fucking phenomenal.
It's such a cool idea. Like, it's first person. So it basically took everything that's cool about Assassin's Creed with like the parkour and shit and climbing obstacles and such. And then it took Left 4 Dead with like, you know, the crazy weapons and the zombies and the zombie behavior and everything, and just kind of made it in this like unholy mix.
Right.
And that first game is really good.
With just like, you know, a handful of Dead Island.
Yep.
It's the same people.
Same
too.
people, Techland.
Yeah. So
I never, which is so weird because I never got into Dead Island. Like, I always thought it was
those
fucking
games.
lame,
I
bro.
love those games.
Me
Really?
too. I loved them.
I played the hell out of the first Dead Island because if you remember, it had a phenomenal trailer. Do you remember the trailer for Dead Island?
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit! How it's like it's a family and it's in reverse slow motion.
Yeah.
Bro, that's a great fucking trailer.
Well, their second trailer was the same one too, like, or the new one that's never coming out ever. They
Dead
had
Island 2.
Yeah, where they had Pigeon John playing in the background. This dude just taking
Just
a jog.
jogging.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying it was the same thing, because I was going to say, well, yeah, it's because Dead Island Riptide is the exact same game as the first Dead
exactly.
Island.
No. I'm talking about Dead Island 2.
Yeah, it's weird that Dying Light really kind of fucking took off with me.
Dude, I had such good times playing that game. I would share some of my like hairier situations on Facebook and
Is it getting a PS5 treatment? Because I would be down as fuck.
Yeah,
for that
it
game
is.
on PS5.
It is. It's getting a PS5
remember when you
treatment.
could share clips to Facebook?
Yeah, dude, that was...
I did. Do you remember the clips that I
Yeah.
played, that I downloaded of Dying Light? Yeah.
Dude, I used to upload clips of that and UFC 2.
Mine were always of Mortal Kombat 10 with like me unlocking cool finishers.
I used to always upload like my Overwatch play of the games.
Yeah. Better times.
Yeah. Yeah, better times.
Well, before we get into the subject of the hour, if you're listening on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, leave a comment, talk to us. We'd love to talk to you, love to interact with you. Just tell us what you think. If you'd like to send us your own actualities, we'll read them out loud. You know, it's not just for our patrons.
Yeah.
But you can also become a patron by going to patreon.com/Nerdcorp podcast. And we've got tiers as low as $1. That'll get you, Nerdcorp stickers, a thank you on our wall, and mentions in our weekly podcasts. So, with that being said, Berserk. First movie was The Egg of the King. Yes?
Egg of the King, yep.
So, talk to us about that, Cole.
So, first and foremost, before we get talking about this, I don't really do this, but I feel like it's kind of warranted for the subject matter of this story.
Trigger warning.
Big warning to anybody that wants to get into Berserk. Not only is it very violent, which, I feel like is, par for the course.
Right.
But there's a lot of sexual violence, especially in the first little bit. It's all over the place. Like, I don't really know why Mira wanted to add so much to it.
So I was actually telling Nick this earlier. Yeah, like, it's gross and it's yucky and it makes us all feel gross. But it's pertinent to the story that we know where these people have come from. Yeah. And that they, were abused in such horrible ways, and that they've overcome their trials and tribulations and are still struggling with some things. And it's pertinent to know where they've been.
Mm-hmm.
Basically almost every bad thing that can happen to a human being that happens to Guts. So it's like, I just wanted to get that out of the way for anybody. Like, I don't want you to start it and then like get fucking blindsided, because while I do recommend the movies and I do recommend the anime, I really, really recommend the manga, like, above everything, because it is Mira's original vision and the artwork is sublime. And the storytelling that he has is just it's masterful. Mm-hmm. Like, it is top tier beyond almost everything else. So I wanted to say that I feel like it is a story worth experiencing, even with all of the roughness around it. But it's pretty early on, and it really doesn't get better until, like, the volumes in the 30s. So it's kind of the sexual violence is a main thing.
Yeah. So if you're listening right now, please know that there are some trigger warnings. And
I love Berserk a lot, man. Like, it's one of my biggest inspirations in terms of, like, knowing what I think is great storytelling and great art. And, like, I really do believe that this shit, like, belongs in a fucking museum, just because of, like, how great his sense of direction and his sense of flow, like, everything about it. Even when I was showing Angela today when we were watching the movies, I was showing her just a couple of panels, and she's like, this is so easy to read. Like, it's just so how well the page flows.
Just presence of the book.
I cannot recommend the manga more.
The line work is so beautiful and just so clean that it's not like, what am I looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, the bubbles, the
speech
bubbles are in a good, clean order, where other works of manga that I've looked at are really difficult to read. They're very messy, and the lines are blurred, and it's difficult to see, like, which text bubble is in order, because of the mangaka's artistic choices. Like, you don't know exactly.
Just their vision for
it. It's like, wait, did that text bubble, like, it almost doesn't make sense either way.
Yeah.
And for those who like aren't privy to manga reading, you read the book backwards,
Basically,
right?
yeah.
So like you're flipping pages backwards, and so I'm assuming like if for someone who's new, that would also be some kind of weird.
Well, not only that, when you read a regular book, an American book, you're reading from left to right, but not only in terms of like, you know, the left part of the book to the right part of the book, you're also reading like the words from left to right.
Right.
It's the complete opposite with manga. Like you'll read
From right to left?
From right to left all the way down to the bottom. Which is weird because like I have a hard time reading normal books now because I read so much manga. Like, because I'm just so programmed to read manga that weird way. Like American comics
Yeah,
really throw me off.
Yeah, I read them backwards too. I'm like, wait.
Really throw
like
me off.
memes, like the Foursquare meme format. I'm always like, and then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's not how you do it.
Like reading the Last Ronin or whatever. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That like it really for a while it like really fucked me up.
Oh, so you read it?
I'm reading it.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously I was in the middle of reading it and Mura fucking died, so I was like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
we're fucking reading Berserk again, you know. So I'm not only do I own it all in single, I think they're called tankobons. That's what they're called.
They're called what?
Tankobons. That's the Japanese name for volumes. I probably totally butchered that, but yeah, the single volumes of Berserk, I have all of those, and I'm also collecting the tomes. The tomes. They're my Bibles. I love them. God damn, they're so beautiful.
Omnibus?
I don't know if they're omnibuses though, because what's the word for 3? Because there are 3 volumes in one.
A trilogy?
Well, there's a trilogy, but I know that Vinland Saga, those are omnibuses, and there are only 2. I could be fucking wrong here. I don't care. But so now I'm reading them all on my phone. So I'm buying them all again on my phone, and I don't fucking care because I'd love to buy this shit and support these guys. And if it means I get more fucking Berserk, fuck you. It has nothing to do with Fast and Furious.
Go ahead. No, go
Fuck you,
ahead.
bitch.
Go ahead. And you love it so much that you'll buy all the things that are involved with them because you want to support.
Don't you fucking dare compare Fast and the fucking Furious
bad.
with Berserk. Don't you fucking dare, Eddie Lyon. Fuck you, bro.
That's the response I was looking for. Continue.
So, Angela and I obviously are no strangers to Berserk. This is your second, but your first, Nick, your first venture, and I want to know, first impressions, what did you think? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you tolerate it?
I really enjoyed it, actually. Like, I think...
We were outside smoking before we came in, and Nick was like, so... should I? And I'm like, are you thinking about like watching more? And he's like, yeah, like I want to know like more of this story. And I'm like, okay.
Well, yeah, we were talking, my friend Duncan, I was Snapchatting him, and he was like, oh, you're watching, he's like, you gotta go watch the anime. And I was like, which one are you telling me to watch? Because I know there's one good one and one that's not great. And he's like, yo, the one from like the 1990s. I'm like, okay.
97.
Yeah. Because he's like telling me to go watch that. And I'm like, I probably will. I have a lot of shows to watch. Lucifer came back out.
Yeah, dude.
I started watching this show called What We Do in the Shadows, and it's fucking hilarious.
Really?
Have you ever watched the IT Crowd, Eddie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, one of the guys from that show is in it, but so yeah, I mean it will happen. I'm still watching Attack on Titan and My Hero and just trying to
keep watching Attack on Titan.
Keep trying to keep everything going. But
there's a lot. There's a lot. I tell you to watch a lot.
It'll happen though. I love these movies though. I was telling Angela outside that most of the movies I thought was like the cleanest looking animation that I had seen, like an animated, not just anime, but like an animated movie per se. And
the stuff that's actually animated.
Yeah. And then
he said that the 3D didn't even bug him.
It didn't. I didn't like notice it enough to think to myself like, oh.
I agree. It wasn't that out there. I mean, for you maybe because
I feel
you're
like
such a mark for this series.
I feel like it's bad for me just because like
imagine bad CGI in your precious Fast and Furious.
There is bad CGI in my precious Fast and
yeah,
Furious.
when they brought back fucking Paul Walker from the dead.
There was bad CGI? What?
Yeah, isn't he CGI?
You're such a piece of shit right now.
So they used his brother's body.
They used his brother's body, but they hyperimposed his face.
Yeah.
They didn't really have to change much in terms of facial features because he was his brother. The 3D gets really good, and that's not something that you're going to hear me say, like, almost ever. But the 3D in the third movie is really good. That's why I really quite enjoyed the third movie, is because they really learned a lot making these movies, Studio 4C, which is such a fucking shame that they didn't take over the show and they went with someone completely different to do the 2016 and 2017 anime, which is a fucking train wreck.
Yeah, if they would have taken and done that 2000 anime, like from what I've seen from these movies, then, and not having seen anything of that anime, then I would have been all about it. But I loved all the violence. Like, I'll say the violence.
Not
I love all of that shit.
There's some that you're like, oh, that was cool. Like,
one of the parts that made me actually laugh out loud is in the Egg of the King, when I think it's the Egg of the King, or is the princess in the first or second one?
She's in all three.
Well, I mean, I can't remember which movie it is, but there's a part where they're riding and she's talking to Griffith, and all of a sudden he's just out of nowhere, he's blowing on a leaf.
Yeah.
And
that's the first movie.
Yeah, I just kind of like started laughing. I'm like, that's the funniest noise I've ever heard. And it's like in this serious moment where she's like talking to him and you just hear this.
In the manga, it's more of a whistle. Like she's enchanted by the idea that he just, because she's talking about how she hates the idea of coming to because they're at this like royal hunt basically.
Yeah.
And she hates it because she hates seeing animals die. And so she's talking about that, and Griffith is like, oh, let's get her mind off of it. So he grabs this leaf, and it's more of a whistle.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be this fucking wet
kazoo. It's more like a kazoo sound.
It's more like a fucking queef. They took a lot of liberties with this movie, and that's why when I was talking about it beforehand, I was like, they really kind of butchered a lot of elements to it. And while I think what they did is good and it's serviceable, the things that they cut out make things not as cohesive as they should be. You know what I mean? And the whistle is one of those things where it's like, yeah, the princess kind of seems like a dork. Like, she's like, oh, kazoo.
that's so cool.
That's so cool.
How you do that?
Yeah.
What it is.
Sound like a cookie poot.
The 3D isn't nearly as bad, and they really learn a lot in the little bit that they do. Especially, like, I noticed, of course, it's always going to look like bad to me, just because, like, it's stiff, and it doesn't look great, and they're doing, like, this hyper melding between, like, the 3D and then also, like, traditional 2D.
Well, there's a lot of anime that kind of has, like, that stiff movement, right?
The new Evangelion has it.
I mean,
the new Evangelion movie has it, and I really, like, I gotta prepare myself.
Another thing that I kind of chuckled at, or kept chuckling at, was when Casca's defending herself against the guy with the staff, and it's before, like, she falls over the cliff the first time.
Adon.
Yeah.
It's Adon.
It's not Adon, it's Adon.
The guy that just everything he says is just, this has been passed down through hundreds of years. Like, everything
this family.
Have you seen my staff that's been through the family for 40 years?
He's the general of the hyper-violent force hurricane. It's
that guy, I was like,
awesome.
This guy's hilarious, because everything that he has is like a hand-me-down, like passed down generations.
Zangan Seppu! Yeah, I fucking Guts is like, Zangan Seppu?
Yeah,
what
he's
the
just
fuck?
like, oh, you know what, fuck you. And he
Great villain. Great villain. Yeah, that's a great part.
Adon.
His name is Adon. His name is Adon. I'm sorry. I know that this is hard for you. His name is Adon.
Okay. See Ole.
Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah, and then I remember it was because last night, because the only chance that I had to watch these before tonight was last night. So I watched them both. I watched the first and second movie back to back, which was like almost 3.5 hours, like combined. But I just took my laptop outside in our little awesome patio area, and I just set it up on the table, and I just had like my smokes and my vape, my drink, and I just like kicked back and just watched like the last half of it just outside. And I don't know if the neighbors could hear everything that I was watching, but I didn't care. It was great.
What's your first impressions, Eddie?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I saw the 97 anime. You had recommended it to me, Cole, and so I, went sailing for the high seas. I sailed the high seas for it, and
Which is the only way to watch it. So.
The Nerd Corporation does not condone illicit or illegal activities.
Unless there is no way to do it.
So I was playing Biomutant the other day.
So, I watched that whole series. It's like 26 episodes, right?
Oh, I didn't know that you watched that.
I did. I watched the whole thing. Oh. And Cole, of course, you loaned me the first 6 issues. And I really enjoy it. I do enjoy the art style. Berserk was the first manga I ever read. And so I tried to read a few others. I read Midnight Diner. And, that was pretty dope too. But I really enjoyed the movies. The movies were like a nice condensed way to pretty much tell that arc story. I thought it was just awesome. It was fun. Some of it, the lighthearted parts were just right where they needed to be. The action, of course, is phenomenal. Just watching him cut through 100 men in that second movie was just...
It's a great fucking part.
In the forest?
Yeah, dude, that was just...
I love how he takes an arrow to the arm, and then he's like, oh, great, he can't use his arm anymore. He's like, no, he can still use his arm.
Yeah.
And then he takes a fucking arrow to his hand, and he's like, oh, great, he can't use that hand anymore. But he, still is, swinging this insane fucking sword. Yeah, great fucking part, man.
Yeah, I think I definitely see your love for it in it, Cole. I see why this is such a near and dear series, and this is a near and dear manga to your heart. It's just very well executed, very fun to watch.
Okay. So, there's the 3 main characters, as far as I'm concerned, is Guts, Casca, and Griffith. Let's start with the man.
Or if you ask Nick, it's Gus, Costco, and Griffin.
I didn't say Griffin. You said Griffin.
You said Griffin.
I said true. Costco.
Yep.
And then you said Gus.
I was making a joke.
Or what are those ice cream treats? They're called Cascos or something like that?
Caspers.
Yeah.
Let's start with the man, the myth, the legend, the 100-man slayer.
Guts.
Well, so we should kind of talk about the relationship of these 3.
That's what we're going to do. We're going to get into the characters.
Okay.
We can't really talk about the relationship without talking about...
How there's a fucking love triangle and everyone's in love with the wrong person?
I feel like it doesn't do it justice.
But it's a good explanation.
So let's start with the 100-man slayer himself, Mr. Gatsu.
Yeah, man, that dude just doesn't give a fuck.
Well, he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot.
Well, even just right at the beginning of that first movie, you see him because he beats Bazuzo.
Fucking awesome part.
And that just watching him and just bringing in that long ass sword that becomes the inspiration.
And everyone's making fun of him.
Yeah.
Because at this point, he's 14 years old.
Really?
Yeah, at this point in the story, he's 14 years old.
That is the most ripped 14-year-old dude I've ever seen.
This is all he does.
Yeah.
That's all he does. He's learned to survive, you know?
14 sounds like he's 40.
Yeah, so he comes into the movies they don't really show it that well, but in the manga, I'm going to say that a lot, I'm sorry. But in the manga, he comes through and he's like, these other soldiers are just towering him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just so small compared to everyone else, but he's just got this massive fucking sword, and everyone's making fun of him. Like, who the fuck sent this guy?
Yeah.
And he comes in with just this demeanor, like how many pieces of silver for killing this fucking guy? And the guy's like, oh, 3. And Guts is like, no, 10. He's like, 7 and not a nickel more,
Yeah.
And
So Guts got his name because he was born from a corpse who was hung as an execution, and his foster mother and father found him and named him Guts because of that.
because they found him lying in a pile of guts.
Huh.
So it looked like it was some kind of raid. It's morbid fucking imagery, but it's like iconic for Berserk. It's just this big tree. And you know that scene in The Witcher 3 when you're coming across that first big part and you come up to that tree and it's all hanging bodies? Where do you think they got the inspiration?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
You're the meaning of my life. You're the inspiration.
So it's just this random band of mercenaries led by this guy named Gambino. And he's got this, for lack of a better word, like this horror.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basic. But she's more to him than basically that. But he treats her like that. It's horrible the way that he treats her. But they come across this big, like Angela was saying, this big tree. And there's just a bunch of hanging corpses. And underneath one of them, it looked like she was pregnant. And so they find this baby and Guts. And he's actually dead. He's at that point. So you know how when you're born, the doctor will like slap your back or slap your butt to like get your lungs working, like to get the fluids out of your lungs?
Mm-hmm.
No one did that for Guts. So the second that her name is Shisu, that's the name of the gal. She runs up and just like picks him up and like hits him in the back, and then Guts is born.
Okay.
So yes, that's how Guts got his name, is that he was found in his mother's afterbirth. Which is fucking awful. But
that is wild.
But that's just a little thing that's, I feel, important that the movies didn't touch on.
The movies really... So, that is super important shit that the movies completely skipped over. And I'll generalize it as best I can. So, Gambino was basically his father, right? Shizu was basically his mother. She died when he was 1.5, almost 2 years old of the plague, basically. He watched her die. And Gambino wasn't there because he's a mercenary. He's out on the field. And then after that, basically, Gambino's like, hey, you're not just going to fucking sit here. You're going to come out. So Guts is like 3 to 4 years old on a mercenary's battlefield, like carrying the weapons for mercenaries and everything.
Right.
Like for everyone. And Gambino's just like screaming at him. Like Gambino's not winning any Father of the Year awards.
Gotcha.
Like we'll just say that. Including the night after Guts' first battle. And Guts, I think, is like 6 or 7 in his first battle. He kills his first man, which, is obviously very traumatizing to him. But there's a moment where Gambino basically sells Guts for the night.
Oh, shit.
To a really horrible person in the troop. I won't go into further detail, but it does happen.
Wow.
And it's fucked up. It's really fucked. That's why I say when everything that's almost bad that could happen to a person has happened to Guts.
Wow.
And so after that happened, he gets his bloody comeuppance, which is really cool. It's a cool moment in the manga where he kills the guy that does that to him, which is fucking awesome.
Right.
And then Gambino actually gets in a bad accident, loses his leg. He can't fight anymore. And he basically goes like alcoholic stepfather and is like, oh, you're a piece of shit, and gets drunk one night, goes in to kill Guts because he feels like Guts basically is like everything that went wrong because of Guts. So he went into Guts' tent drunk, tries to kill him. Guts actually kills him accidentally, and then he's ran out of the camp, because everyone's like, oh, you're a father killer, and so he has to run away. And after that, he gets shot in the back with an arrow, left for dead, gets found by another group, And then way further, like in the future of the manga, it explains kind of like where he went. But after that, that's when we get to the battle with Bezuzo.
Okay.
So that's Guts' backstory that the movies didn't touch on.
That they didn't touch on, which I can understand why they didn't really want to touch
yeah.
that,
it's
like,
kind
at
of
all.
important, though, to know why his name is Guts of all things.
Well, not only that, like, and that's another thing that the movies don't really touch on, and the anime doesn't touch on it either. Guts has really bad intimacy issues, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why the moment where him and Casca end up making love is really an important moment in the story, is because he's finally letting someone in after that shit that happened to him. Like, if you remember in the anime, the guy that he, like, after he kills Bezuzo, the guy's like, hey, come work for me. You know, you can be my squire and everything.
Right.
He touches him on the arm and he's like, hey, don't fucking touch me.
Right, yeah. Oh,
Intimacy issues.
okay.
Yeah. That's why he wants no one to touch him. So it's just one of those things where it's like, that's why I feel like it butchers the story, is because it's like, you're not really telling why this story is as good as it is.
Right.
But, again, no one wants to touch that with a 6-foot pole. Nobody wants to fucking animate that. Like,
Yeah,
that's really fucking hard, and that's another reason why some people think that Berserk is not... It's unadaptable.
Right.
You can't put this into motion, because
Right.
not only for, like, general audiences, but for, like, Japanese audiences, that's very taboo. That would be very hard to watch. So, but yeah, we first meet him in the movies when he is storming this. It's funny because he's actually on the other side. It's Midland that is holding the castle, and it's Shooter that's trying to take over the castle.
Okay.
And Shooter got all of these mercenaries, and Guts was part of that mercenary that kills. So Bezuzo is actually kind of a good guy.
Oh, that's crazy.
But he's kind of an asshole too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just big fucking man with a big sword, and his whole thing is like, hey, I'm just gonna swing my sword because that's really all I know how to do.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, later on in the story when he starts talking about like, hey, you know, I want to find out like what I'm really living for and everything, that's kind of just like that's shit that you would find out when you're like, what? An adolescent? You know? You have a dream when you're an adolescent? That's just not who Guts is. You know, Guts is just swinging his sword because that's all he's really good at.
He doesn't like Griffith in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, he fucking hates Griffith. But he eventually develops, like, a very friendly bond with him.
A brotherly bond.
A brotherly bond. Which is, you know, then shattered. I mean, any further comments on Guts?
Well, I just think he was written very well. Like, he was just...
He's our protagonist.
Yeah.
He's
and it shows. Like, it shows.
He's the vessel of the reader.
Yeah. What did we think about Casca?
I loved, like, as far as the movies went, I loved Casca. But the moment that her and Guts became a thing, I feel like in the movie anyway, they weakened her a lot. She was very just like raw with just like emotion, you know what I mean? And turning to Guts when she couldn't handle the situation, but being the commander of this clan for so long, you know what I mean? I feel like they took a lot of her strength when, you know, that love scene came along.
This is a fault of the movie, and I agree with you. It's a problem with the movie. So the original story as it goes is when he's leaving, when he's deciding to leave and Griffith and him have that battle on top of that snowy hill, the whole time that battle is happening, Casca's having like an inner monologue talking about like, do I want him to leave? You know, like, because the whole, you know, she falls off the cliff, she's not feeling very well. And then Guts obviously goes in, finds out why she's not feeling very good, and he says like, "Oh, it must be tough to be a woman." You know, he starts having sympathy for this person, which, you know, they're always butting heads.
Right. Yeah.
In the first movie,
series.
and then like the second half of the movie.
Yeah, just
the second movie.
Yeah.
Like they're really butting heads because Casca's really fucking jealous of Guts because Griffith sees something in Guts that she doesn't feel like he sees in her. Right. You know, she's very, very jealous.
Yeah.
So she takes all of that rage out on Guts. And, you know, obviously Guts is known for being like a lone soldier. So when he charges out in the middle of battle, she gets really upset with him. Like, hey, you're putting everyone at risk. when you do that. You know, that's why he gets really upset when she calls him a mad dog. He's like, no, I actually care about these people. So when you're saying that shit, it fucking pisses me off.
Right. Yeah, because he's doing it more not because he's a lone wolf, but because he's like, well, if I can go over here and kill all these people, like it'll stop this battle quicker and none of these other men have to die because of it.
He's not showing off. He's just trying to do it the best that he can.
He's trying to protect the clan as best as he can, yeah.
So the whole moment where Guts is taking care of Casca is really like a big moment. And not only that, that's also when she opens up. You hear her backstory, which is horribly animated in the movie.
Yeah.
I fucking hated it because that's a really great part.
That shot after he, like, takes her clothes off so she doesn't freeze, and then he's, like, holding her with his sword, and that shot when it pans out.
Iconic.
Chef's kiss. That was
iconic.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's fucking rad, man.
It's one of the most iconic panels too.
Yeah, because he's got her, but he's holding his sword, and he still just has this look, just like he's
ready.
He's
ready to fucking throw hands.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So Casca has an undying love for Griffith.
Right.
And we'll get into Griffith in a minute, but
it's not really even romantic.
It's explained as like almost like worship. She really, really admires him.
Yeah.
And she understands, like, there's a point where she's like, oh, I love him, I want to be with him, but then she understands, like, that's not who I am. That's not who I'm supposed to be.
But she also wants his praise and attention because she gets really jealous of Guts because he gets it.
Well, because Guts comes in and is just a fucking star on the battlefield. And where she was beforehand. She was second in command.
And then he says something to him where she's like, he's never said that ever.
He says, Griffith says, I want you, Guts. Like, I want you in the Band of the Hawk. And she gets upset because he's literally never said that to anybody, including her.
Is it in the 97 anime or is it in the manga where he's like, what are you, like a homo?
Yeah,
like...
it's in the manga.
Yeah, because in the movie he's like, well, if you want me that way.
Yeah.
You know, and
you can have my sword or my ass.
Yeah.
It's just funny, and it didn't age well, but it's funny that they said that.
Corcus also calls him that too, so. Casca's just very strong-headed, very strong woman. She's in charge of 1,000 members of the Band of the Hawk, so she's a big fucking deal to this troop of soldiers. So, she's
Big Sister Casca.
She's Big Sister Casca, yep. So, obviously, that leaves the big man himself, which is Griffith. Now, Griffith it seems like we don't really know a whole lot about him, about his, like, upbringing, like, his environment. He was a commoner, like, he was a very low being in terms of, like, social class.
But not, like, I don't know, I wouldn't say, like, low, but, like, he had, like, a home and stuff.
He had, like, a home, but he was a commoner. He was, like, he was a peon. He was just, you know... But he had these dreams and aspirations of being something more, being a noble, having his own kingdom. And so that's where the philosophical nature of Berserk really gets kicked into high gear, is because it starts going into the point where he will literally do anything to achieve his dream. And so there's this moment, it's not in the movies, which fucking sucks, but there's this moment where, I guess it's alluded to, where they come across this really, really rich general or governor.
It's in the anime, I remember.
It's in the anime. I'm talking about, like, the pond scene where he's, like, scratching his arms because he's disgusted with himself. So he comes across this governor that has a very peculiar taste in lovers. And so he decides to sleep with this governor for his funds. And there's this moment where Casca finds him in this pond, in this lake of sorts, where he's washing himself. And Casca starts to walk away, and he says, no, you know, come talk to me. You very obviously want to talk to me. And she says she saw him with the governor, which is, you know, a little weird because he was naked and you know, they were both naked. Mm-hmm. And she's like, hey, can you, like, explain what was going on? And he's like, well, yeah, he's very rich, and the Band of the Hawk requires a lot of money. And so I kind of did what I had to do, you know. which is, it just further cements this point, like, he will do anything to achieve his goal, which is to become, have his own kingdom. And so there's this great moment, and it's in the movies too, where he talks about, like, all the bodies that he stacked up, like all of the people that have died for his dreams, and it's just fucking eating away at him. Like, he hates it. He hates the sacrifices that he's had to make. But he can't stop now. He has to keep going. Or else they're just going to not mean anything at all. He can't let them die for nothing. And that's why he eventually, does what he does in the end. So, going back to what you were saying, Angela, about the love triangle, I don't really think it's a love triangle because it's so...
I feel like it's best described as a love triangle, though, because...
I mean,
because Griffith lusts after Guts, and Guts lusts after Casca, and Casca lusts after
Griffith.
But I don't really think it's lust, though. It's like, it's admiration. It's not lust.
It's want and attention.
Like, Guts really desperately wants to be Griffith's equal. That's why he makes the decision that he makes at the end of the second movie.
Right.
He's like, hey, I gotta go do my own thing because I want to be on the same level as Griffith. I
want to call him a friend. I want him to call me his friend.
Because he comes across Griffith when he's talking to Charlotte, Princess Charlotte, saying like, hey, I don't really think anybody in the Band of the Hawk is really my friend. They're just great fucking soldiers, and they're willing to die for me, and I love them. But none of them are like actually my friend. My friend, someone that I would call my friend, is my equal. Mm-hmm. Which he hasn't come across anybody like that. So Guts hears this and is fucking devastated, and he's like,
"Oh, I guess we're not friends.
Guess
then.
I'll die.
Yeah, I guess I'll go fuck myself.
Yeah, I guess I'll just be over here fucking myself." Yeah.
So it's really just kind of like these are obviously very conflicting emotions for Guts because he doesn't really know anything like that.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't know anything besides swinging his sword. So when he hears something like that, it really kind of shatters his purview, and especially this is right after he just does this horrible fucking thing for him for Griffith. He kills Julius and accidentally kills Julius's son Adonis. Yeah, which is a horrible fucking moment. Mm-hmm. So it's really quite sad that he just went through this traumatic thing just to hear Griffith say like, yeah,
he's not my friend.
None of them are really my friend. Yeah. So that's why the great mistake is made, because none of this shit would have happened if Guts just stayed in the Band of the Hawk.
Right.
The wheel is in motion.
The laws of causality. So Griffith is a man with a dream, and he stops at nothing to achieve his dream. He's also a brilliant tactician who loses no battles at all. Yeah. He gets into the country of Midland and basically just shows everyone like, hey, I'm the shit and none of y'all can fuck with me. Yeah. Like there's a moment where he's there's this castle, Doldre, and for 100 years they have not been able to recapture this thing. So they're in this like little general powwow, and Griffith is in there, and the king says, we really need to do this. What can we do? Everyone's bickering and fighting, and one guy jokes about Griffith, like, hey, why don't we just have Griffith do it? He hasn't lost. He's like, oh, that's just a joke. And Griffith's like, if the king tells me to do it, I'll do it. Like, I will do it. No problem.
He's like, is that a dare? You dare me to do it?
Challenge accepted.
Triple dog dare you.
And the guy's like, all right, what do you need? He's like, all I need is the Band of the Hawk. Which is fucking crazy because the Band of the Hawk at this time is like 5,000 deep, and the Doldry Castle was entire scale, probably like 60,000 soldiers. So it was a big fucking deal. And it ended the war. Yeah. So like Griffith is kind of a big fucking deal. Like he's, there's a moment where someone calls him the hero of the century, which is there's nothing wrong about that. Yeah. So that's basically the majority of the story. Guts decides he wants to leave, and so it causes this great divide in the Band of the Hawk. Everyone's like, hey, we don't really think it's a great idea for you to leave, because now we're all like, we're finally getting the recognition that we deserve, after this big battle. And Griffith especially takes this to heart. Like, hey, you know what? No, you belong to me. Mm-hmm. So Griffith, at this point, has got a big swinging dick, and he's not afraid to show it. Yeah. Like, he's got... His whole plan is to marry Charlotte to get his kingdom, right? Mm-hmm. That's his whole fucking end bag. So when he comes across this hillside, And Guts is walking away with a knapsack over his shoulder. He's like, "Nah, you're not fucking leaving. And if you think you're leaving, you're gonna leave by my sword. Like you're gonna wrest your freedom from my sword."
Yeah.
You know? Or something to that nature. And Guts beats him.
One swing.
You know, breaks his fucking sword.
The only way you're leaving is in a body bag.
And this really fucks with Griffith, like, hard. And so, what does Griffith do?
He goes and has premarital sex with the princess.
He fucks the holy shit.
Yeah, he
princess.
does. Yeah, he does.
Which,
my man.
Yeah, my man.
He clapped them cheeks.
So, it almost kind of seems a little confusing because they don't really touch on it too much. But the reason why it was a bad thing is the fact that there's a reason why the ceremony to give him noblehood gets postponed. But it's not touched on in the movies. Basically, the queen dies by Griffith's hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he sets the bitch up in a house and sets the house on fire and burns her alive.
Well, because she tried to assassinate
She tried to
him.
kill Griffith.
Yeah.
So, lots of shit that happened there. But that's the reason why the ceremony gets postponed. So, after he fucks her, he gets caught outside of her, out of her room. And he's like, "Hey, you're not a noble yet." That's considered treason.
And not only that, you fucked her outside of the laws of marriage.
Yeah.
So.
Big
and
deal.
outside the laws of causality.
Yeah. Not actually.
Big deal.
Yeah. Everything is meant to be.
Big deal. And so Griffith gets arrested. They try to murder all of the Band of the Hawk. And I think
they're
they all
his men, and so they're all held accountable in this.
So the king goes a little crazy, right? Starts torturing the fuck out of Griffith and everything like that. And Griffith makes an insinuation of the king that sends the king into a fucking tizzy. And I think that's why he tries to kill all the Band of the Hawk by ambushing them. Because he's like, "Hey, you're just mad that I fucked her before you could fuck her. Because you're fucking weird." Basically is what he says.
Yeah.
Which, later on you find out is the truth.
Yeah.
But, so that's essentially what happens, and Guts has no idea. He's none the wiser because he fucking left.
Yeah.
So that's where the third movie starts, is Guts coming back, and he's like,
"Where's Griffith?
What the fuck happened? Like, where's Griffith?"
And he didn't even come back to come back. He was just busy. Like,
he came back to come back. It's been a year, and he's like, "Hey, I'm coming back, just checking on things." It's in the manga.
It's a visit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just visiting.
I thought Guts had left just because of like how he feels about nobility and shit like that.
He wanted a dream. He wanted something like a reason to fight, and he wanted it. It is noble. It's like an honor thing. Like, hey, I want to stand toe to toe with Griffith because I admire him so much.
Right, but I thought it was because like he just has a problem with royalty and anything involved with it. Am I wrong in that assumption?
A little. It's more that he just admires Griffith so much that he wants to be like Griffith.
Well, it was like a rude awakening. He's like, "Oh yeah,
this guy that I really admire doesn't think I'm shit."
Well, no, it's a rude awakening in the way that he's like, "My purpose for living right now is to help someone else with their dream. I need to find my own dream."
Yeah, because he wants to stand toe to toe with Griffith.
Well, that's a part of it.
So they come back. A year has passed. The Band of the Hawk's on the fucking run.
They're trying to get intel on where...
Yeah, they're trying to find out where Griffith is. They eventually find out. And Guts is like, "Hey, let's go get him." So they go all the way down to the very bottom of this fucking torture hole.
So who are the people that attacked them in the beginning of the movie?
They're called the Bakiraka. They're a part of this race called the Kushins. And they're basically just attacking. I can't really remember the reason why they're attacking, but they're attacking for a certain reason. I can't remember. I'm not that far in the manga in my reread. But they find out where Griffith is, so they go and rescue him. They find Griffith, and he's just a fucking shell of a man.
Well, so they hear whisperings of an inside man in the kingdom that knows where Griffith is, and it turns out that it's Princess Charlotte. And so Princess Charlotte guides them down the crypt and into the dungeons, and that's where they find him.
He's a shell of a man. They cut all of his tendons. Like, they cut the tendons of both of his wrists, both of his Achilles tendons.
Cut his tongue out.
Cut his tongue out. There's a moment where Guts takes his helmet off, and he's like, whoa, put that fucking thing back on.
Mhm.
And even in the manga, they don't even show that. So it's like, it's implied it's really bad. So I think what it is like,
well,
my own...
they fillet him, too.
Yeah, they cut off a bunch of
boil
his skin.
him, don't they?
Yep.
Yeah.
They really fucked him up.
They ripped off his toenail.
My interpretation of what happened to his face is they cut all of his hair off. He's very known. Like, he's known for his very long, beautiful hair.
You can see his hair. It's under his helmet, though.
You can see his hair, but it's cut very short. So Griffith doesn't look like Griffith.
So not all of it, you're saying.
And if you look like closely, like there are parts of his face that are like flayed off.
Yeah.
His tongue is obviously gone. Like it moved Guts to tears, which is really fucked up. But so he's basically just this shell of a man. They get out of there. So they save him, they bring him back, and they're basically like, "Hey, what the fuck do we do?" You know, like this guy is not like. There's a moment with Judo, one of the people in the Band of the Hawk, and he's like, "Hey, he's never gonna be able to hold a sword again.
He can't walk.
He's never gonna be able to walk. He can't speak." So in the very beginning, they showed off Griffith's necklace.
Right.
It's a very weird amulet type looking deal.
Looks like an egg.
It looks like an egg, but it's got a jumbled up face on it, right? Griffith calls this thing the Egg of the King. He says he picked it up from some random traveling salesman. And he says that the prophecy behind this thing is that the wearer will give up his own flesh and blood to get his own kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, well, what do you know? That's
Sign
exactly
me
what
up.
I want. Yeah. So there's a reason why he had this.
Well, and it didn't just fall into his lap either. Like, it's the laws of causality.
Yeah.
Like, everything was meant to happen.
So he got it, but then when he was being tortured, he actually lost it. Which is another reason, like, you know, another sign of the laws of causality is, like, he finds himself in this pond, and he's at his lowest of the low. Mm-hmm. He knows that he's a fucking burden to everyone. He knows that this is a problem. He's never going to achieve his dream. So he actually tries to kill himself on that branch in the middle of the water. But he can't even do that. And that's when the Bailet comes into his hand.
Because, what's his name? I'm just going to call him Moreau, because he's like Moreau from Resident Evil. The weird-looking torturer guy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he takes it from him, and then he drops it down the storm drain.
Yep. And then it shows up in his hand. He's like, oh, fuck.
What do you know?
Raises his hand, and that's what starts the eclipse. So what happens is when a Bailet is being activated, it has to happen, you know, with the person that's at the lowest of the low, saying like, hey, I will literally do anything to do what I want to, like what I need to do.
Right.
And his blood got introduced. That's a thing that has to happen too. And so begins the eclipse. So the eclipse is when the God Hand shows up. And it's I gotta tell you, the fucking God Hand is some of the coolest fucking designs for people ever. I will get Void tattooed on my body somewhere. The brain guy with his eyes that are sewed shut and his giant teeth.
Yeah,
and he's
Mars Attacks looking guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's got, and when he raises his arm is like so long.
Mm-hmm.
It's so fucking cool. There's this. It's in the '97 anime, but it's a picture of his face, and he's like his palm is out, and it's got the sacrifice logo right on the top. It's so fucking cool.
And I may be wrong, so correct me if I'm wrong, but there's more than one Bailet.
Yes.
As far as like the whole series is concerned, yes?
So the one that Griffith has is the Bailet.
Oh, okay.
Like that's why it's called the Egg of the King, is like when it gets into the person it's destined to come to. So everything is destined to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Griffith was always supposed to become the fifth member, the king of the God Hand.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they get basically encased in this horrific sight. And all these God Hand members just come up out of nowhere.
It's just a bunch of faces.
It's a bunch of Bailets.
A field of faces.
Yes.
And they all go,
do it again, how do they go?
no.
I can't do it as well.
So the God Hand shows up, all of the Band of the Hawk, because the Band of the Hawk were chasing after Griffith, right?
Uh-huh.
They all
Except for Rickard.
Yeah, except for Rickard. He was
left behind. Nobody let him know that there was
He's
a
like,
pod going
where's
down.
the rendezvous? It's right here, isn't
Nobody
it?
told me about trying to find Griffith.
Nobody told me about no eclipse pod.
So Guts is right by Griffith, right? They're watching these fucking horrible things just appear out of nowhere. And the God Hand comes out and says, like, hey, you know what? You're the guy that we're looking for. You know, finally the time is at hand.
Well, first it's
Yeah, big. Her name is Slan, the
Yeah.
whore princess of the Uterine Sea.
Big titty
woman.
Which her fucking reveal in the movies is so much better than it is in the anime.
Yeah.
Really?
I'm gonna say that right now. Oh, it's fucking great.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
You only liked it because she was rubbing her nipples the whole time.
So basically, the God
It
Hand
was
comes.
cool, okay.
The God Hand comes down and says, like, "Hey, you're the guy that we're looking for," and shows him, like, "Hey, this is what it's all led up to. This is what everything has come to. All you have to do is say, I sacrifice. You have to sacrifice all of the Band of the Hawk. Everything that you hold near and dear to you, you have to sacrifice for this." And so Guts, he turns around and he sees Guts and he's like, "You motherfucker, you're the reason why all this shit has happened. Why I lost sight of my dream."
Well, even in his like weakened state, when he first sees Guts, he goes for his throat. Like he's just
Because
like,
he
"Oh."
fucking hates Guts.
He can't.
It's just so dumb, too, because Griffith is the reason why he is the way he is, because he said what he said, and Guts overheard him, and so Guts was like, okay, yeah, I'm out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, his ego got the best of him.
Yeah.
And then, like, his ego was shattered when Guts beat him in that battle. So, now is the Invocation of Doom, is what they call it.
Okay.
So, Void holds out his hand and starts sending all these little beams of light towards everyone down, down below them.
If that's not a Brand of Sacrifice song, it should be.
The Invocation of Doom. It's so fucking cool,
I'm gonna
dude.
look at their stuff real quick.
So basically, the Brand of Sacrifice is being applied to every member of the Band of the Hawk. They are being sacrificed. And basically, it doesn't explain it in the movie, but every person that gets sacrificed for in this moment just makes Griffith stronger.
Yeah.
So all these demons just come out of the woodwork and just start fucking destroying, mauling, ripping, tearing everyone apart, right? Like there's pools of blood everywhere just from all the fucking carnage. And it's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
You watch basically everyone that you've grown to love and care for in these movies just fucking die horrible deaths.
Yeah.
And Guts is just, doing what Guts does. He's fucking destroying shit, killing demons. The fucking cool part is he breaks off a demon's horn and like kills like 30 fucking demons with that demon's horn.
He doesn't have his sword.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything.
They don't have a song called that. Not even on the album called God Hand.
Really?
If you're confused, as you should be, I just discovered that there's a very heavy metal band that I listen to called Brand of Sacrifice, and I just discovered that their whole inspiration is from this series. So I'm ready to go.
Fuck
Let's
yeah,
fucking
dude.
go.
Yeah, it's just a horrible sight because everyone's fucking dying. And Guts is just fucked up. There's a horrible moment where Pippin, like... I feel like that's the hardest part for me.
Dude, yeah.
Is like he comes up, Gaston, his second in command, he walks up in Gaston's fucking face, which is way worse than the manga because Gaston's still alive. And he like comes across Gaston and Gaston's like, what do I do? What do I do? And then his fucking head just explodes like right in front of Guts. And then Guts finds Pippin. And Pippin looks like he's alive, and then it shows the side of his backside, and his backside's all caved out. Like it's all fucking torn apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes...
It's fucking awful because Pippin was my favorite. But
Strong, silent, I almost want to say teddy bear.
yeah, there's a funny moment in the beginning where it's not in the movies, but Guts like doesn't want anything to do with the Band of the Hawk and their celebration. And Pippin comes up and basically just picks him up and breaks him down. And Guts elbows him in the chin, and it makes him start to bleed. And he just wipes it off and just continues to carry him downstairs.
He's just like this big smiley man.
Yeah.
He's like...
All the while this is happening, something is happening to Griffith. He's being molded into something. And then eventually
he's being reborn.
He's born again as Femto. Now, Femto is...
Batman.
He basically looks like Batman.
Mm-hmm.
I love his design. I think it's fucking cool as hell. I love how his feet are like actual bird feet.
Yeah, just like talons.
I love how his eyes went from like that beautiful blue to just red.
Blue to red like cat eyes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
awesome.
was one
And his lips are purple now.
awesome detail that I noticed.
It's so fucking cool. And then he does something horrible.
Yeah, very...
We won't get into it.
It's not very plus ultra.
No.
Plus ultra.
So, yeah, Griffith does unspeakable things to Casca and makes Guts watch.
So basically what happens is like he tries to stop it, but a demon like catches his arm, right?
Yeah.
Catches his left arm.
So he's not making him watch. He's just having him... He's being held back so he can't stop him.
Yeah. So Griffith starts doing the thing, and so Guts tries to stop him, but he gets caught, right? His arm gets caught by a demon, and he can't fucking move.
So he just hacks the shit
so
off.
he just fucking 128 hours himself and just fucking
With
hacks
his broken sword.
with a broken dull sword.
Yeah.
Yes. Eventually gets past and gets really, really close to stabbing Griffith in the fucking eye, but eventually Griffith's like, nah, bitch. And then he tries it again, and then he's held down, and then one of the demon claws goes into his right eye, and he loses that eye forever. It's some rough shit, man. It's a rough fucking scene. And that's when the Skull Knight comes down and saves them all.
Not them all.
Not all.
He saves Guts and
Casca. And that's really the last time you see Femto in the God Hand. The God Hand's like, what an interesting thing to happen. You know?
Yeah.
Like how unforeseen or something like that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And Guts wakes up. He's like, oh, fuck. You know, he's missing his arm, his eye. He can't see out of his right eye. And he wakes up in this weird little cave with like a water fountain. And Rickert comes down. And he's like, which is, a former member of the Band of the Hawk that wasn't in, the Eclipse.
He was like the squire of
He's like 11, 12 years old. Like he's very small person.
Mm-hmm.
And Rickert has no fucking idea what happened. And Guts is like, where's Casca? Where did she go? Casca is taking a bath.
Yeah.
In the waterfall. So Guts goes over and says, hey, are you okay? Casca has lost her mind from the trauma.
Well, so she has extreme age regression because of what she experienced.
In PTSD.
Yeah, and PTSD. And that age regression, took away her ability to communicate. It
broke her.
Yeah.
The trauma of the eclipse broke her.
Mm-hmm.
And all these years later, we're finally getting to see, the outcome of what happens after that.
Right.
But it's the majority. That's why the community lovingly calls her Potato Casca. Is because she's kind of dumb now.
Well, she's a vegetable.
She's basically a vegetable. So Guts takes off, starts running hey, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know how to feel about any of this. And he eventually runs in to a bunch of demons. And his brand on the back of his neck starts bleeding.
Yeah.
So it doesn't explain it, but so the brand hurts every time demons come. And that's why it was bleeding so bad when the demons were attacking him at the end of the movie. Is because those demons are the brand of sacrifice. He's hunted forever. Skull Knight comes out and says, hey man, this is just your life now.
Yeah, this is the way
you will be hunted until you eventually die. And that's when we get a cool shot. I don't know if you saw this, but if you wait until the end of the credits,
I didn't.
You saw him gearing up, and he becomes Black Swordsman, and he gets the Dragon Slayer, puts it on his back with the cape, and he starts walking out.
That's rad.
And that's when the 97 anime begins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with him killing the Serpent Apostle.
Well, it's just one episode. That's
it's just one episode, but that's basically where it starts.
It's a prequel episode, but
In
it's...
media res. That's what it's called.
And you can only watch this unscrupulously.
Yes.
You will have to sell the C's. Yeah.
It's easy to find though. So
That's how we watched it the first time. Is we just pulled up the browser on the PS4.
Oh, I wish that PS5 had one.
Oh, that's right. It doesn't.
I'll just
cast it on your phone. That's what we did with the OVAs for Attack on Titan. That's basically it, man. That's one arc of Berserk, and it's, obviously, like I said, it's the most famous arc of Berserk.
Mm-hmm.
It's been done to death. But everything before and after is fucking phenomenal. In fact, my favorite arc is the arc that's right after the Golden Age. It's called the Lost Children's arc. I can't recommend Berserk enough, man. Like,
yeah, dude, I think this is something that's very, very special. Nothing is like this.
No, there's quite literally nothing like Berserk.
Well, it's funny that you guys say that because nothing is like Berserk, but Berserk is like everything, I guess.
Yeah, you can say that.
Because so much has come from the
inspiration.
Yeah, just every piece of the series.
I don't know, man. I love this shit a lot. And I'm so glad that you guys watched this shit with me.
Dude, it was definitely a pleasure to watch, and we're definitely going to have a lot more Weeb Corp episodes in the future, so definitely check those out. If you have any suggestions on what we should watch,
mm-hmm.
please let us know. Write us through all of our various ways, and let us know something that you'd like for us to cover as far as Weeb Corp episodes go. But I think that's going to do it for our Berserk episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope we've turned some of you toward Berserk, and we hope you enjoy it. As always, you can follow us on social media. On Facebook at the Nerd Corporation, a podcast.
On Twitter and Instagram at Nerdcorp Podcast.
Or you can shoot us an email at nerdcorppodcast@gmail.com.
And if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Search the Nerd Corporation and look out for our green NC logo.
And if you want to correct Cole some more, because apparently he's just always wrong according to Dallin.
Apparently.
Subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdcorppodcast. Several tiers of loot to have access to, from stickers and shirts to extra episodes and bonus content. We'd like to thank our patrons at this moment, our Nerd Corporate backers, Glenn the Simp, Fillmore McLaurin, and Jake Hurst, and our Nerd Financial investors, Kim Nichols and Dallin Gilbert.
Thanks, Dallin. Thanks, Mom. Super big shout out to Jake and Fillmore.
Yes.
Really, their support's been fucking awesome.
Yeah, they've been around for a very long time, and we definitely love you. Thank you for the support.
And we shout out Dallin and Mom every fucking episode. We need to, share the love.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys so much. If you can't make a monthly contribution, consider supporting us on PayPal, paypal.me/nerdcorppodcast. We want to have the best loot, the best equipment to give you the best nerdy experience, and that's the best way to do that. So for the Nerd Corporation, on behalf of Derek Reist, my name is Eddie Lyon.
I'm Cole Simper.
I'm Nick Lewis.
And I'm Lady Slan, whore princess of the uterine sea.
Coldest line ever.
Keep it nerdy, y'all.
Did you get